Hello, my name is Dale Hawthorne and welcome to my channel. This is going to be another video especially for those who are pursuing ministry, especially those who are Bible college preparing for seminary or going to seminary from some other degree program. And I want to direct you to several books which are available now. They weren't available back in the 1970s, 1980s when I was preparing for seminary and going to seminary. So I think that these would help anyone right now who's in that path. So um, help you to be able to work through it and prepare for ministry, for um, interpreting the Bible, preaching the Bible, and years afterwards. So, first one, Daniel Zacharias, Benjamin Forrest, Surviving and Thriving in Seminary. I did read before I went to seminary a book on dealing with seminary, but it was really more from a 1960s mainline denominational perspective, and it really didn't give me that much good guidance. So I would say that this book, read it, go through it before you even apply to a seminary while you're evaluating a seminary. So I sometimes think that there might have been several other seminaries which would have been better than for me for preparation than the one that I actually went to, but that's years ago. That's water under the bridge, and uh, God can use even our mistakes, our misdirections. So I would advise this: copy down the steps to make some action steps for yourself when you go through these books. What you're going to do. Don't just read through them and forget them. Continue to make some action steps. Let them affect your life. And that leads right into, very fortunately, the next one, Greek for Life. Yeah, learning ancient Greek, New Testament Greek for life. I had myself a background in classics with 3 years of classical Greek before I went to seminary, and a lot of people sneered at that. They were envious about that. So, well, I just followed the path of preparation, which I was there before me when I sensed the call of God when I was at a secular university and took the Greek and changed my degree program. So I'm not going to apologize for following the best understanding of the will of God for me at that time and according to the situation I was in. But this book talks about learning, retaining, language retention. It's a lot more than trying to go through laborious parsing of a book, of a verb or something like that, and trying to figure out its derivation throughout history, coming up with a basic meaning and like that, which a lot of that, which I described, is really bad language acquisition and bad linguistics. But unfortunately, a lot of people are still in that. But this will help you to be able to know the proper habits to develop the proper fluency to be able to read the New Testament in the original language, and that will also should character help with reading the Greek version of the Old Testament, the Septuagint, which is the version which Jesus and the apostles used when dealing with Gentiles mostly. I think that Jesus may have had a copy of some books of the Septuagint. Apostle Paul seemingly definitely did. Matthew goes back and forth between translating using the Septuagint as a translation and putting in his own translation or paraphrase of the Old Testament. So um, this right here will give you guidance and actually to look how to speak it. When I was back in school, they were talking about these languages as they were dead languages because there are no native speakers. But for centuries, people were speaking them, and the pronunciation probably wasn't the same due to archaeology and finding out misspellings and things like that. How people actually, we got a much better idea of how people actually seem to have spoke these languages back in antiquity, and it's possible to do that. And there's some wonderful things that are coming out right now. I wish they'd been around back in the 70s, but what did I do? I read through the New Testament, the Iliad, the Odyssey, some Euripides, and Plato and stuff like that. So what do I know? Continuing onward, next one is like that. One of the authors is the same. It's biblical Hebrew. And we do have modern Hebrew now, which is not really the same, but it is related. But being able to revive biblical Hebrew, to be able to work through the Old Testament, which is um, a larger book as far as beginning to end. And too many people nowadays, too many pastors don't preach sufficiently from the Old Testament. Yeah, we talk about leading people to Christ, and which we do need the gospel in the New Testament, and we do need the Old Testament though, because that's, we see the Old Testament as the basis for the New, and we just simply can't ditch the Old Testament, especially not for any of the reasons we're now, especially because Jesus used the Old Testament as the Word of God, and there's so much that can fill us from the Old Testament, and that just uh, means that we need to go back to learn the language, to be fluent in it, and understand what the Old Testament is telling us right now. Going reading through Jeremiah in my personal devotions. I read 10 chapters a day, and that's the Old Testament in the Old Testament, and that's the part which I'm reading. I read 5 chapters in the Greek New Testament, but not going to go too much into that, telling you about that right now. But yeah, there is so much. Once you know Hebrew, you want to look past the translation. Okay, that's what they translated, but what did he say? So I hope you can understand that as you get the fluency, you want to know more and more what was being said. It isn't just about finding some sort of word etymology and stuff like that, although rare words we may need to work a little bit harder on. But it is to understand what he was saying and how it was translated and so on. So that's all I have for this video. Please like and subscribe if you have a chance, and if this is something which you want to keep up with me. And thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention.